I've been a co-op member for 38 years. In those years, I've witnessed many changes to our way of living, to mention a few: phones, computers, cars, our cooperative maintenance. Not so many years ago, our linemen worked from paper work orders, and if a call to dispatch was needed, the lineman had to find a landline phone to make such a call. Today, the co-op uses computers with a very high-tech program which enables the co-op to pinpoint outages which can be relayed to the onboard computers in the trucks as well as cell phones. We have definitely came a long way. All of the changes have helped to minimize the time it takes to address an outage on the many miles of Lake Country power lines. With that being said, our co-op service area covers more than 10,000 square miles, from Crane Lake in the north to Sturgeon Lake in the south, and as far as Walker and Leech Lake to the west. Together as members, our collective assets account for more than 8,200 miles of line. If you stretch the wire end to end, it would run from New York to LA and back to New York. As a co-op, Lake Country Power is a non-for-profit electric utility and is 100% locally owned by members. That's you and me. We support local jobs, and our money stays here, close to home. Lake Country Power is also 100% locally governed by members for members. Lake Country Power exists to serve the rural areas where we choose to live, and by virtue of the essential service it provides, the co-op improves our quality of life in countless ways. Lake Country Power employs 119 people who work day in and day out to maintain the distribution system so that we as members have access to safe, reliable, and affordable electric service in a rural area. The hard work often goes unrecognized, at least until the lights go out. But thankfully, that doesn't happen much anymore. Most outages are linked to severe weather, a few tree branches, and some unfortunate squirrel. That might cause a reliability problem. Overall, service continues to improve. Because of the investments in the system, and that's the board's job, our primary role is to make common sense decisions and use sound judgment to thread the needle of affordability and reliability. With prices for equipment, materials, technology, health care, retirement programs, and other services continually going up, it's an ongoing challenge to keep light bills affordable and the service reliable. As a governing body, it's the board's responsibility to provide fiscal oversight. Ultimately, each and every member has the right and privilege to get involved, to volunteer, and to have your voice heard. One way we have a voice individually and collectively is through voting. And this spring, members had the opportunity to vote by bylaw changes, and the board recommended to the membership. The revisions are intended to clarify our role as directors so we don't cross a line into the areas of responsibility for co-op employees. Those lines, the lines of who's supposed to do what, have sometimes been blurred in the past. We're hoping to clear that up. Additional changes are focused on much-needed updates to language in the articles of incorporation and bylaws. Most of the language in our bylaws is original, dating back to the formation of the cooperative in 1997. It needs updating. If approved by the members, the bylaws will also be updated to be more consistent with other cooperatives in the state. Those changes will increase and protect the value of more than $280 million of member assets in the distribution system. The revisions will protect the interests of a supermajority of members rather than a supermajority of members casting votes in special elections. As directors, we hear most viewpoints and listen to many different perspectives. We take alternative positions into consideration with our legal responsibility to ensure members have access to reliable, safe, and affordable electricity. We'll disagree and debate in the boardroom, but we undertake on behalf of the good of the whole and the service provided for members. If you choose to run for the board someday and have the privilege of being elected, be ready and willing to sacrifice your time with family, your attention to hobbies, your business, or a good portion of your personal life, because serving on the board of an electric co-op is a time-consuming task. The job of a director is to listen and address individual concerns as best we can without prejudice or harm to the mission. And that mission is to provide safe, reliable, and affordable electric service for the benefit of all members. The board has worked hard to balance rates and costs with a long-term outlook and has involved members in the effort to recover most of our local costs through a cost of service rate structure. Cost-based rates are assigned fairly across all rate classes so that everyone shares in the cost, and members also share in the benefits of reliable electricity, regardless of how much electricity we use in our homes, businesses, or cabins. Going forward, we expect electricity of the future to be more local than ever, with many possibilities for residential or utility scale solar panels or other forms of renewable energy generation. Alternative energy is on the way. Our position is to adopt that change over time so our power supplier doesn't walk away from existing assets overnight. It makes sense to make changes with fossil fuel-based sources, but we believe it should be done in an orderly and sensible way to minimize the impact on rural areas so it doesn't maximize the impact on our electric bills. Whether we as individuals support coal-based electricity or not, rural areas, especially rural areas in the Midwest, are more dependent on coal-based generation than other parts of the country. 93% of the poorest areas in the country are served by electric co-ops. So whatever changes are made, we'd like to see it done over time to minimize the impact and burden on families who live and work in rural areas. The cooperative business model was founded on democratic values and principles. I'm confident future members will benefit from this model because it involves and engages members in ways that electric utilities won't or can't. That will be especially important as we look ahead, especially considering changes in rules and mandates at the state and federal levels. I've had the privilege to serve as a board president for the past year. I'd like to thank my fellow directors for their support and confidence. I'd also like to commend General Manager Greg Randa and his staff for a job well done on our behalf.